Jake, welcome to the NFT Scoop Podcast. Great to have you here today. As our first live audience guest, you get a real NFT scoop. Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
How you doing? How are things?
Yeah, good. Busy at the moment.
Yeah?
Busy, yeah, always building every day. So, yeah, I mean, time flies by. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to seeing what the Scoop's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, our aim at NFT Scoop is to educate the world on NFTs one scoop at a time, as you're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And I know as well that ties into what you're doing with the EduNFTs. So I think it would be amazing just hearing a little bit about yourself and what you're doing at the moment for EduNFTs. What's your role for the organisation?
Yeah, sure. So I come predominantly from like an education background. That's where I started out. Found like an early interest in just the Web3 world in general.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when NFTs really started to come onto the scene, I saw an opportunity to try and leverage, you know, this new technology to improve and really solve problems that online education has with NFTs. So, yeah, I mean, in general, and, you know, an education NFT to our definition works quite simply. In an example, you know, at the moment, if you want to go and buy an online course, you go online, say the course is £100, pay £100 for the course, you get access to the course, you never see the £100 again.
Yep.
What we're trying to do is, you know, rather than you spending £100 on the course, you spend £100 on the NFT for that course. That NFT acts as a tradable access pass on a base level. You spend £100 on that NFT, you take the course, but you have digital ownership of an access pass to that online course. So once you're done with it, you can sell it to someone else that wants access. All education NFTs will be exclusive and limited as well, which should definitely help out in the secondary market. So yeah, it's just about trying to give the students an opportunity to make more of education. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure as we get into the podcast, you know, that's a base level of what an education NFT is, but there's a lot of other utilities and use cases of an education NFT, and where we want to take it, that just you know, the way it's been set up is to directly solve key problems within online education.
Because obviously you've got quite a big background within education already, haven't you? So what sort of led you into that? Because I saw you were, you know, dropped out of university. Since then, like, why did you do that, and what is it you went and did?
So I think to start with, I've always been into business. Yeah. Since a very, very young age. You know, most people are passionate about playing football and cricket and rugby when you're younger, but for me, I wasn't the most sporty. I think it was always trying to make money or get a little hustle going.
Always on the hustle.
Always on the hustle. So
any hilarious hustles which you
a couple, because I mean the general one that a lot of people will say is, I sold sweets in school, and I did do that, you know. I did.
So what? Sorry.
Like sweets.
Okay. Yeah.
That's like very general like minimum creativity way to hustle when you're a kid. Yeah. But I always tried to find unique ways. So one time, you remember the BlackBerry craze was going on?
Yeah.
I was maybe in like year 7 or 8, so 11 or 12, and what I did is I used to buy BlackBerries off of eBay.
Right.
And then sell them to people for a profit, because it was the craze at the time. And what actually happened in the end was, at my school anyway, there was a lot of BlackBerries going missing.
Right.
And they thought that, or they had an assumption that the BlackBerries that were going missing were the ones that I was selling, which obviously wasn't the truth. But yeah, either way, how it basically panned out was that I actually got sent home from school, because I thought that, like, you know, this new kid in the school is like thieving BlackBerries. Obviously I wasn't. I was buying them on eBay and selling them. Yeah. But that was one, and I did well out of that. And then
so this was in year 7.
Year 7, yeah, I think it was 11.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just always been there. And then, like I said, the whole selling sweet stuff. Probably a creative one was kind of like a maintenance business. So when I was like 13, I got my audience down to a T, and that was a rich neighbourhood in the area that I lived in. Okay. So I printed off a leaflet, called it Help in Hand, and basically I put these leaflets through people's doors and said, look, any odd jobs around the house that you need help with, I'm saving up for university, and like proper sold it, like really sold it, and said, look, I'll do them, just pay what you think the job's worth. And I just started getting loads of people like in the area, and, oh, you know, come and do this in my house, paint the fence, mow the lawn. Started to get so busy, I just started to get my friends to go and do the job. So I never actually did any maintenance after the first few weeks, and just took money, and obviously gave them money as well. But yeah, that was another hustle, and then it kind of started to be more focused on, right, what do I want to do as a career? Because then I was getting on to like 14, 15, and I think in like the neighborhood and like society that I grew up in, like your initial assumption is like money is money is the aim, and money is like the success in life. Obviously now I've really learned that is not the truth, but that's kind of the mindset of the society that I was in. And I think when you're young, it's hard to try and think indifferent to what you're constantly around. So naturally I was like, investment banking.
Right. Okay.
That's my route. I want to I want to go into investment banking, and so I did some work experience at a couple of investment banks when I was 14 or 15. Really kind of got hooked on the front end side of it, so actually making deals and trading on the front end. And then I realised that okay, so between this point in university, coming out, graduating, we're looking at maybe, I don't know, off the top of my head, 7-8 years until I could actually get there, and then I'd have to work my way up. So I might not actually be able to get into that position for maybe a decade. And I was like, oh, let's just go on Google and try and learn myself. So I did that over the next couple of years, and then naturally over time people just started to kind of ask me at school. I think I was maybe 17 now, saying,
so when you say learn yourself, sorry, that so specifically trading markets?
Yeah, trading markets, yeah. So mainly FX and stocks to start with, and then obviously I found crypto. Never really traded crypto much. I'm sure we'll get onto that, but anyway, I from the investment bank, it's just called a spot trading desk, and a big department is FX, so that's kind of what I focused on. And then people just started asking what I was doing, and naturally I started to like teach people, and I was trying to explain, like, I'll go here, because if you put the time back and the clock back maybe 6-7 years, the content online wasn't and the online course market is gained some serious traction in like the last 3 to 4 years. You put the clock back 6-7 years, there wasn't as good content out there to be able to just go and learn something like this. So it's hard for me to say, all right, I watched these YouTube videos, I took this course, and then I read this blog, and all of this different like mediums of education. So I just started to like just almost coach people, and I realized how time consuming that was with like studying for my A-levels and stuff. So I decided to do more of like a group thing, and then sailed through that, and then in university it continued. I didn't have the time, so I decided that's when I was going to move into like actually producing like online courses and online programs for that. So that's basically how I got into that, and that takes me up to university.
And you obviously you dropped out of that though, right?
Should have never gone.
I've seen you've mentioned online before that it is one of the biggest scams in the world, which I think is an important topic today, because I think a lot of people who've gone into university, especially sort of maybe 3 years ago, 5 years ago, are now feeling the sting of the student loan repayments, and they're probably not using their degree course for their career. I'm certainly not, and I do feel that like, right, should I have ever gone? How far could I be, in my career today if I didn't actually go to university? So how do you feel about all that?
Yeah, so I think the actual, that was something that was said, and it was kind of put across a bit out of context, because what I actually said is a waste of time for like a lot of courses that, because like you said, the main point I was trying to get across is most people don't go and actually do a career in what they study. There's certain, careers out there, law, medicine and things like that, where you do need to go and get the appropriate qualifications that you can only attain from university to be able to actually go and, get a role in that career. So for that, I'm like, that's fine. I have no problem with that, and by no means am I saying, that's a waste of time or that's a scam. It's not the case. It's more for people that just go, like I did. I went to do economics because that would be able to get me into the finance, investment banking industry, but I was never really going to use what I learned in the economics course. It was just purely like a medium to get my foot in the door. And obviously I went to uni, so I met a lot of other people that were in the same position, right? So that's kind of the angle I was trying to get across. And it's funny because although we're obviously talking about education NFTs today, like my grand vision is to create an alternative to university on the blockchain. If anyone goes and looks at improve.io, there's kind of like the starting blocks of the vision that's on there. So that's something that I'm constantly working away on the background. University to me can be pointless in a lot of circumstances. I think we need and it's really outdated. I've spent a lot of time in the education industry, and traditional education hasn't really moved a lot in the last well, in the last decade especially. So I kind of feel like sometimes we need to try and push education ourselves rather than just rely on governments to do it. Especially like if you look at the UK at the moment, there's a new people coming into the education board constantly. How can we have solid direction as a country on what education should look like if there's a new person in charge all the time? So there's a lot of things that need to change, and I think that Web3 as a medium obviously can help support the validity of other methods that can get people into direct careers and teach them direct skills and direct knowledge that's going to help them in that career. So that's kind of my opinion. But yeah, I left. I did a year and a half. It's not like I was a uni dropout. I actually deferred my place for a year to pursue a business. So that, what I was saying earlier about wanting to produce like online courses and create an online experience for what I was doing. So that's what I decided to do, and like I said, I deferred it. So I had the option to go back after a year, probably about maybe 4 weeks after actually making that decision. I was never going back. So I pursued that business, following on from that for the next few years. Sadly didn't work out in the end, and it's a hard pill to swallow, because like any entrepreneur's like first company is like a baby. And it's almost like now when I set up things, and as I get onto, I've set up multiple different things since that point. That I don't have that emotional attachment that I did, but that's something that I've obviously had to learn. So great foundation block, and I'd say that the greatest education of my life was those few years of my first business, and obviously it shaped why I'm here now.
Exactly.
If you look at education NFTs, where the education's come from, where the NFTs have come from, and what I'm actually trying to achieve with the project, where that kind of fits in with my passion and my purpose, it all comes from my earlier journey, and I could only get there through practical application and adoption.
So the first business that you mentioned that didn't work out, how did that affect you? Like, obviously at the moment you've taken those skills and those strengths that you've learned from it, and it's accelerated you to where you are today. But when the first one failed, did you think, entrepreneurship, it's not quite for me? Did you have any sort of doubts like that? Did it pull you back at all?
No, not really, because I was fully committed in the business to trying to develop myself as an entrepreneur as much as possible as well. I think that's something that I was lucky I did, because it's all about like personal development and how far can you kind of move your own needle forward. The success of you can't be determined by anything other than yourself. So I've always tried my best to build value in myself, not just in a vehicle, if that makes sense. Like I tried a few other things after that, so I kind of feel like coming out of that on reflection is so much, what really am I driven by? And I think that was the turning point when I realised that maybe the whole finance, investment and trading leg, maybe that's not what I'm passionate about. I've really enjoyed the education aspect of the business. And I also really felt the pain that students experienced, especially with online education. So I became, more passionate and it was kind of a transitioning period for me to realise that, online education was something that I was passionate about changing. With just such a strong focus on that, it's hard for me to ever go, entrepreneurship isn't for me, when I was still so driven to fix these problems that I'd identified in my first venture. So I did a few things after and built a few different things. Some worked out, some didn't again. I've probably been doing this for like 6 years now. So it's just about experience and trying to build yourself up as an entrepreneur to have the skill set that one day you can build something that changes the way that we do things, and for me obviously improve the experience that students have online.
Absolutely. So, and I think it's absolutely correct on what you said. Like I've met you before. One of the first things that I noticed in our first conversation was like, wow, this guy is super passionate about education. Like he genuinely is. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs will start something for the sake of it. Like I've done it in the past. I'm just doing it for a business. But I was like, right, this guy is super passionate about education specifically, which I think is quite interesting, because a lot of people who are passionate about education end up going to be a teacher, right? But you're like, okay, I'm actually going to create a whole business around this. So you're definitely going, in the right direction with things.
It moves from like So obviously that first business was almost like a, there was a little bit of technology in it, but it was mainly like with content producers, right?
Yeah.
Producing content. So to solve a problem on large scale, if I just continued to sell courses and sell across all different things, that I kind of felt like there was limitations. Whereas a lot of the courses you're putting the platforms you're putting the courses on, they're reaching people at scale, right? So that's when I started to go, okay, I want to start looking at edtech. So edtech just means education technology.
Right.
So that was another transition, not so much in what I'm passionate about, but the means of how I'm going to be able to make the impact that I want to make.
Yeah.
I'm not here to like try and impact 100 or 200 or 1,000 people's lives. I want to try and make big scale difference, and the only way that I saw to do that would be through technology and edtech in particular. And then I started to nosedive into edtech, and I was like, shit, like there's so much to get my head around, but more importantly, that a lot of the solutions that I thought I'd find just don't exist. And then I went for a period of just trying to fix everything.
Right. Yeah.
And like obviously, if you try and fix a million problems, you're going to fix no problems.
Yeah.
You should focus on one problem and fix that well and build out from there. But that's something that I really struggled with. So I kind of ended up with like 3 or 4 little ventures here and there, and some of them did well. Don't get me wrong. And I know notably I built like an e-learning marketplace.
Okay.
For coaches and mentors, and I ran that for like 6 months and passed it on to a new owner. So yeah, that's when I started to really fall in love with not just education, but the side of possibility in edtech. So yeah, and then I suppose we ended up here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've mentioned again some of the challenges which are in the current Web2 platforms. Like, can you just go on to speak a little bit about some of the challenges that you have identified, which
Sure.
you're trying to solve, and how EduNFTs and specifically, I guess, Web3 is going to help solve those?
Yeah, perfect. So I think the first problem definitely is the value that students take from online courses.
Okay.
So less than 10% of students actually complete their online courses, which is a massive issue. And it's a bit of a shocking one. So,
And what are we talking about here? Are we talking about like open university or any type of like...
We're talking more like further education.
Okay.
So I would kind of class open university from the university aspect anyway as higher education, university higher education. If we're looking at like... when you go and take a course on like Udemy or Coursera, like general open, they're called MOOCs, which stands for Massive Open Online Courses. So it's just a marketplace with loads of open like courses that you can take online. So completion rates are less than 10%, and MOOCs are growing massively as well. So there's 90% of waste there. So obviously, there's reasons for that. So I mean, if you just look at it without diving into reason, if you just look at that, 90% of people just wasting money on education probably leaves a bad taste in their mouth and they don't return. The possibility of having an education NFT to access a course, and if it isn't for them, then they don't complete it, being able to resell that to fund the next course, so it doesn't leave that bitter taste in their mouth and they want to continue their online learning journey. That's something that we're really trying to get on. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of reasons why people don't. I mean, the environment's a big one as well. I was actually having a discussion off camera earlier about people being able to copy content and try and relay content from courses, and it's like, content is, for me, to sit there and just watch like 10 videos. I can do it because I'll force myself to, but I have to take some serious focus. But in reality, this is what we're trying to do on the platform side of EduNFTs is build a really good learning environment that engages people. So there's a lot of factors like that come into that. But yeah, that's obviously one main problem. And I think the next one is that's the number of people who don't complete their courses. That falls straight into value taken. Okay. I think that online, if you look at online courses, you can take a university degree, you're going to put on your CV, you're going to be able to get your foot in the door, even if you have no relevance to what the actual job is. People just look at it as almost like a stamp of approval. So I kind of feel like, you complete this online course, what can you do with it? Where can it take you in your career and things like that. So that's something, again, that we really have our eye on, especially we mentioned earlier in preview and trying to build an alternative university, being able to bring power to online credentials and make them valid is something that's really important. And anyone that's in this space, if you look at the blockchain and you know, the immutability, validity, and even kind of verification, how that can be used to kind of bolster the, you know, people's credentials in the online field. So you know, that's definitely another problem. And then if we look at the other side, if we look at educators, right? So how do we encourage people to put time into producing a really good, not just content, but online learning environment? I think a lot of that comes down to, you know, a lot of these big courses that they might take 40-50% of the cut, and they're ultimately competitive. So a lot of these courses, say for example, let's look at Udemy. You know, I don't know the average price off the top of my head, but a lot of courses on there range from free to $50 maybe. Like we're talking low cut. And then if Udemy are taking, I don't know, 40-50% of that, the educators actually not ended up with a lot. They have to sell a lot of courses. And, you know, from knowing a lot of early educators in Udemy that have done quite well, it's because they were there early. You know, if you're trying to produce content now, it's going to be very hard for your courses to be seen. And then you've got the bad incentive structures there as well. So it's a bit of a hard one.
You've got to do it at scale on Udemy, for example. Is that what you're saying?
You had to. I think with a lot of the mocks, you had to like build profiles from early.
So similar to like Instagram, when the early days of Instagram, early days of
TikToks,
yeah. So you get in there early.
Build
everyone
a profile.
sees you. Okay.
Yeah. So similar thing. You know, if you just turn around tomorrow and say I want to start building this, it might get lucky and you might get some real traction, but you might not. It's hard, but it's more about the actual incentive. So, you know, being able to use NFTs and how we can incentivize educators in a new way. With those such as, you know, royalties on the resale of an EduNFT, and, you know, the initial kind of what we call, you know, anyone watching this will know what a mint is, but we're kind of more trying to go retail, which we'll explain about later. You know, what we call like the first sale of the NFTs, and how they can kind of get rewarded for the content that they've produced if it's good. Obviously we have a lot of processes in place to make sure that we're rewarding them because it's great, not just because for the sake of it. So that's another one. So we've got value, we've got validity of online credentials, we've got completion rates, we've got educator incentives. Honestly, I could go on for hours, but there's four.
Yeah, no, absolutely, appreciate it. And so, in terms of EduNFTs, then, just walk us through how that platform's going to work. Say, it would be good to understand that a little bit from, I guess, the educator side and also going to be the user side. So, say I'm a user, I want to learn a new course. How is that going to work? Am I going to get the opportunity to purchase an NFT? Do I have to be involved in the initial mint drop of a certain course in order to access that? How's that going to work?
Yeah, so in simple terms, again, look, I just want to like put my hand up and say, like, we're early stage and there's so many possibilities when you cross education with NFTs. We're going with our first viable concept, and we're going to see where we end up. But it's going to be a really interesting journey. You know, where we end. You know, if we look in 5 years' time, where are we going to be? You know, well, we're still going to be using NFTs to solve educational problems.
We hope so.
Yeah, we hope so. But in what route are we doing that? How are we doing that? But to start with, on a very basic level, basically, we work with an educator or trainer or someone that wants to teach a really key skill. They create a course, like brand new course that's never been seen before. Never going to be accessed anywhere else. Never going to be for sale anywhere else. They produce that course specifically for their own collection.
Okay.
So we have things called EduNFT collections, which basically means one EduNFT collection is one course from one educator. Yeah. So an example, our first collection is with a guy called Chris Croft. Chris is one of the leading trainers in the UK. Potentially even the world. I mean, the guy's got over 18 million students. He's got he educates over 22,000 people a day online. Like he's a massive trainer. Predominantly, teaching business skills. And his collection, so this course he's produced is called Starting Your Own Business. Okay. And it's basically an A to Z on, setting up your own business from scratch, which I think is a phenomenal course and a great one to put out there to start with. it's applicable to a lot of people. It's not so niche. But anyway, so that EduNFT collection is Chris Craft's starting your own business EduNFT collection.
Yep.
Now, for that collection, every collection we launch has a limited number of NFTs. For Chris's collection, we're doing 500 NFTs.
Okay.
So there will only ever be 500 NFTs for his collection. If you own one of the Chris Craft starting your own business EduNFTs, you get access to his course and just his course, right?
Yeah.
And I'll explain how that works in a minute. So we do the initial sale, and then after the initial sale, all 500 EduNFTs will be in circulation.
Yep.
And then, like I said, Chris has got 18 million students, 22,000 people interacting as students every single day. So we're expecting there to be good demand for the course.
Yeah.
And I think that's a feature of EduNFTs. We want to make them exclusive. We want to limit the collections to really get, the meaning of an NFT going in terms of, especially the, importance and trying to relay on the secondary market as well.
Yeah.
In a positive sense. So you own one of those. You now basically have a digital ownership of a tradable access pass to Chris's course.
Yeah.
Because the NFTs represent tradable access pass. Like I said earlier, base level, there's other things as well, but to start with, for simple terms. Now, you buy one of those, what do? So you go to our platform, and there'll be connect your wallet. You connect your wallet that you hold, obviously, the NFT in. Platform will automatically verify what NFT you own. That you own an EduNFT and what one it is. Because this is the first collection, Chris's, but then next week we might launch one with a different trainer teaching people how to create viral content, for example. So it'll verify one, and then straight away the platform opens the course.
Okay.
So you literally connect, no emails, no passwords. You connect your NFT and it opens the course. As soon as that NFT comes out of your wallet, you're not going to be able to access the course. Okay. Simple as that. Which by it on its own fixes a massive problem, because in online education, a lot of people can buy a course and just give their email and their password to their friend who can also log in and access the course. Whereas this is countering that quite strongly in terms of, you need your NFT, and are you going to share your wallet with someone else? Are you going to send your NFT, which could be worth something, to someone else so they can access a course and lose that value? Probably not. So that's actually something a big problem. Sorry. But that's basically how we've tried to set up. We've got our own learning management system, which in simple terms is where the course is hosted. And things like that. So that's like our minimal viable product. We launch collections with certain educators for one online course. People buy them. They come to our platform. They connect their wallet. They get access to the course. Once they're done with the course, they can resell the EduNFT on OpenSea to someone else that wants access to the course, because there's only 500 available. And obviously we're hoping that the type of collections we're doing, we're trying to work with the best, so that the demand's there.
Definitely, and I think that's a few things to unpack there. I think it solves a problem. Like I said, it protects the IP for the educator. Lots of people aren't just sharing passwords, so very much incentivizing for the educator. But also the fact that Udemy, for example, it's not something I've delved into too deeply, but are you saying that in the Udemy model, anyone can just log on and spin up a course, essentially, put it together on Google Slides or whatever, but then with what you're doing, this is working with the best, it's specific. Okay, so the actual content is, you're ensuring how,
the quality.
Yeah,
exactly. So one collection at a time until we scale the team, and hopefully we can start pushing it. But definitely to start with, that there is obviously the idea that we're doing it this way to create exclusive and limited NFT collections. But the other side, like you mentioned as well, is the quality of content. Not anyone can just go and create their own education NFT. I was when we first started putting the idea around EduNFTs out there, I was really surprised about the amount of demand we had from educators that wanted to do one. Okay. We got people on the back burner that are just as good status as Chris has. We've also got other people that aren't naturally educators or trainers, but are well-known people for a certain skill, saying, I've always wanted to teach my skill to my audience and to my fans. Could we have a look at this? So we'll see how it goes. Look, we're going to test things. We're going to see what works. But definitely to start with, the people that we work with are going to be at the top of their game in whatever they're doing. And obviously from our side, there's this, there's a lot of resource at the moment that goes into producing an EduNFT collection. So we're only going to do that if we know that the quality of that is going to be substantial. Otherwise, we're not going to waste our time.
Yeah. And these type of people, like, is it Chris Carrot you mentioned? Chris Croft, sorry. Thought it was Carrot. Yeah. So Chris Croft, for example, as you mentioned, massive trainer, loads of students online. How someone like him come to involvement with you and EduNFTs? Is this from your networking education before? Like, have you got paths to reach these people? How are you going to go about getting the best for EduNFTs?
Good question. I think, like I mentioned, we've kind of got like 5 collections lined up in the background. I'm just taking it one at a time. But yeah, we've got 5 really good collections lined up. Some of those collections have come around from contacts, not just necessarily in the education space, but in kind of other avenues that I've got. Recommendations as well from kind of advisors and stuff that are involved in the project. And general networking as well. I think that's where Chris come from, just networking with other people that are quite big in the space. Of course, having kind of a past in e-learning, online education helps. For sure. So yeah, and I think ultimately what it really comes down to is, do people believe in what you're trying to do? Because someone like Chris will get approached to have different collaborations every day from different people that are trying to set up some sort of platform, because you have a choice when you come into e-learning. Like, you can kind of produce the content, or you can try and build something to push all of the content as a vehicle. And if you build one of those vehicles, it's extremely competitive. It's very easy to build one. I'm not going to lie. It's not difficult to set something up that can sell courses. Okay. So even from talking to someone like Chris, he'll have different platforms that want to like sell his courses for him constantly. And with someone like that big in the training field, it takes something extremely unique and promising. But luckily, Chris has a good understanding already of the crypto space. Otherwise, he'd probably be like, "What the hell are you on about?" So that obviously benefited. But yeah, look, we're going to try different types of collections, different styles of collections, and we're going to get somewhere that works. And my main aim really is to just talk to as many students as possible when we're underway, to try and engage what they want. Because as I mentioned, we've got this tradable access pass aspect, but being able to access a community of like-minded learners, we're trying to build things that an online course wouldn't give you, a solitary online course, just the course. So being able to access a community of online learners that are learning the same thing and are on the same, are also EduNFT holders of that certain collection, and being able to network with those and meet people. So that's like another kind of utility that we're building into EduNFTs. Obviously the resale factor is massive. We want to we want to also set up like a platform that's got loads of free resources and courses on it, so that anyone, no matter what collection you're holding, can get access to this awesome portal with loads of content. Just because you're an EduNFT holder, regardless of the collection, you can access all of this stuff as well. So another perk, trying to push the education branch out there and make it readily available for people. And then educational giveaways, and just trying to build things in that people want, to start with. And I think this, when we start talking about the shape of the NFT market at the moment, we're going to come out there and we're going to give one promise, and that promise is that an EduNFT is going to act as a tradable access pass to an exclusive and limited online course. And that's our promise. The things I've just mentioned, they may be there from day one. They might get built in. There might be 4 or 5 other things that we want to build in. But we're not going to come out here and say, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. No, we're doing this from day one. When you own that EduNFT, that's what you're going to be able to do. That is instant utility. That's
a big problem today in the space, right?
It's horrible. It's horrible. I don't get it. So that was something that was really important to me. I don't want to launch or sell any NFTs until someone gets something straight away. And that is the main product. Being able to have that tradable access pass is the main product. So that has to come first. So as soon as someone buys that, it's not like they've got to wait 5 months for Chris to build the course, or they've got to, it might not happen. So many NFT projects have gone that way. That's from day one. So we've been building the platform in the background to make all of this work. Because as you can imagine, building a learning management system is one task. Making it work with Web3 is another task.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been a lot that's gone into it to make this a viable product. But we're going to deliver from day one.
No, I think that. Yeah, I think it's great that you've got that utility baked in right from the start, and it's interesting, and it's you know, when I first met you, Jake, and it was like, right, education NFTs, it's something I hadn't actually married together, if I'm honest. I hadn't until I spoke to you. But what's really interesting about what you're doing and the fact that you're doing this now, and you know, for those listening today, you know, we'd say it's a builder's market right now because things are a bit choppy. You're doing all the building work, which is absolutely amazing. I actually saw a really interesting tweet last night from Cantino, who's a guy who runs CPG, so it's consumer packaged goods, NFT, really well respected guy, and he literally did a thread last night about subscription based NFTs. So buying an NFT, it could be Disney Plus, it could be Netflix, it could be an education style platform, but he's basically reeling off all the utilities that NFTs can do and all the benefits, like the resale value that you mentioned. So, you know, I think you're on the cutting edge of what you're doing, and you're at the right place, right time, and I think it's going to go well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think, you know, the whole right place, right time, I would in some sense disagree a little bit. I'm fortunate to be early, but we have the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Because I think anyone that's like listens to this podcast probably knows something about NFTs already, and sometimes it's hard to take yourself out of that position and actually think about what the general world thinks about NFTs.
Yeah, very true.
So I think like the statistics, like 360,000 people have owned an NFT. There's 7 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
There's 3 billion people in the world that have a Facebook account. Only 360,000 people have ever owned an NFT.
Yeah.
But we're blinded by that because we're in the market every day.
It's like an echo chamber.
Exactly. So that's the challenge. It is trying to bring real market adoption. So something we've been really keen on doing is making sure that, and again, a lot of people that watch this are really like pro NFTs and Web3 and decentralization. They're not going to like it, but enabling someone to buy an NFT with their debit card, because we need to get with retail market adoption.
Yeah.
People that think we're going to go from like complete centralization to complete decentralization overnight, you know, they're just brainless. It's never going to happen. It's never ever in a million years going to happen. If you look at any famous innovation stack over the past 10 years, especially just looking at how Web2 came about, you know, it's a series of problem-solving activities and bringing a consumer from one end of the spectrum to the other end. You don't just do it overnight. So I get the whole, you know, and I'm a massive avid supporter of decentralization, don't get me wrong, but I also live in the real world. And by living in the real world, I know that this is not going to happen overnight. And the only way it's ever got a chance of happening is if we build people up to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and I think, look, I mean, I think it's completely fine in having those fiat gateway systems to onboard people, because they're onboarding, they're using something that they know and trust, and then they're then getting exposed to that Web3 wallet, MetaMask, or
exactly.
And so I think it's that you're doing that little bit to get people on the first stepping stone. And then, it's that process in itself, right, is an education process, which they're going to be learning from.
Mate, honestly, that alone is too much. Like, that's where we're starting out, and it's a much better situation than just trying to launch an NFT and say, "Oh, come and mint one at our site." What the fuck is a mint?
Yeah.
Like, put one in my mouth. Do you know what I mean? So, the whole point that I'm trying to get is like, for us to start letting people engage with Web3 products, we need to hide the technology. We need to hide it.
Yeah.
And it needs to be something familiar and existing to a user, so that they're using something. So, for an NFT, let me give you an example, right? Say, for example, I don't know, Amazon came out subscription NFT. To start with, it could just be like, oh, buy Amazon Prime for a year. And the actual underlying technology behind that is subscription NFT. And that people are buying this 1 year on Amazon Prime because there's maybe 2 or 3 additional benefits that have now been brought forward because of the utility of that NFT. But Amazon aren't talking about the utility of the NFT. They're just saying, right, you can now buy a year's subscription of Prime for this amount, and in addition to what you can already do, you can do X, Y, and Z as well. So the consumer at no point in time actually needs to know what the technology is behind what's making this possible, if that makes sense. That's how we start to do it. And people aren't going to like it because it's centralization still, but we need to go from a 100% centralized society to a 90% centralized, 10% decentralized, 80% centralized, 20% decentralized, and just keep working it down. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck in centralization forever.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Absolutely, I completely agree. Absolutely. And so obviously we've got EduNFTs. You guys are building in the background, from what I can see, doing an awesome job. How can the community at the moment get involved with, or any listeners here today, get involved with EduNFTs? Because are you doing any sort of launch? Are you doing any sort of teaser courses? You know, how's that going to work with your initial sort of user base to gather that adoption?
Yeah, so I think as we've just spoke about in terms of like the retail market being so far away from, you know, where we want to be, and even just being able to understand what an NFT is, because so many people actually do understand it. A lot of people have heard about an NFT, but they don't actually understand it. So from our side, our first initial point of call is to educate people. You know, we're an education company. We love educating people. We want to try and drive this technology forward. So a lot of the content that we're putting out on social media and plan to is very educational based. So obviously, you know, our aim is to use our own product as the practical example that lets it sink into people's heads. Like, oh, an NFT is this. For example, if an education NFT existed, you know, you could do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, existing. I buy online courses, and now it makes sense. So I put a lot of educational content out. So I think all of our social handles are education_NFTs. Very simple. Web address, if you want to learn more about the project, is a very good domain. I love the domain. It's educationnfts.io.
Okay.
So that's to learn more. But what we're doing at the moment is we're working on a free NFT or the ultimate NFT course, and also a free guide, which is Secrets of NFTs. So again, both of these things are going to be available in the next couple of weeks on our domain, educationnfts.io. And we're just going to try and send as many people to you know, from producing this free content on our socials to the course and to the guide, because obviously we want to educate people in the retail market about NFTs, so our product has a better chance of success. Because there's always a fear that we might be too early. I think it's crazy when people go, oh, NFTs, are you too late? You're just crazy. They haven't been used properly yet. We haven't even started. They're not being used.
I mean, the main utility now is realistically digital flexing. That is one of the main
use cases, really.
It really is. So yeah, I mean, when I said earlier, right place, right time, I know what you mean. We're maybe not just at the absolute cusp of the growth phase of utility, but you know, you've got a solid understanding of the market, how you're going to deliver value to individuals, and also how Web3 with EduNFTs is going to solve a lot of the Web2 problems. But I think you've got that girth and ready. You know, you've got that runway that you can build. So it's a good position to be in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like you said, we're just going so overboard on what's already there. And I think this is something I always stress of NFT projects that I see. So, we're going to build a game. It's like, Jesus, like, you do realise that the biggest gaming companies in the world, Zynga, for example, right? Or EA, right? These companies are worth billions. And it costs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions per year to build a game that people like. And you've got people that sell 10,000 pictures of frogs and say, we're going to build a massive frog game. It's like, you don't have a clue where to start. All the gaming resources are in these billion-dollar companies. And if you think for 1 second that they're not working on using this technology to improve their product, they are. And guess what? If they don't, maybe there's not viability. I'm not writing it off, but I'm saying these guys know this industry. These guys know their consumers. These guys are real business people in a real industry. And I guarantee, and we've already started to see it a little bit, that they are going to use NFTs, and they're going to be able to implement it into games that already have millions of users.
Yeah.
So by no means am I writing off any gaming project from not being successful. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm more trying to get across that you're competing with billion-dollar companies here, and if you want to back a project, let's take Sandbox for example, right? Sandbox. So I think the company that owns Sandbox raised recently again a valuation of 5.9 billion. I think so, yeah. 5.9 billion valuation.
Yeah.
And their diluted market cap last time I checked was maybe 3.5 billion, something like that, right?
Okay.
So you just look at those numbers and go, wow, this must be like a serious project. And then you look at the active users, right? I think CoinDesk wrote an article about their active users back in April this year. 1.1k a day, 1,100 active users a day, and they're being valued at nearly $6 billion. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
When you look at the size of these gaming companies that are worth even less than that, and the amount of popular games that they have, that millions of people around the world play on an every daily basis, and we've got companies in this field that are raising $6 billion valuations, have billions in assets that they're selling for their metaverse, have billions in diluted market cap, or even actually their realized market cap's massive as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's the stage that we're at now, which for me is going to be a hard one to get over, because we need to solve real problems and we need to get real adoption. And there's so much money going into things in the space that haven't proven that yet. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, what I love about EduNFTs, and from what we've spoken about, and yes, look, I know we're pre-launch, but I actually think the Ethereum blockchain, which is the most adopted blockchain at the moment, has the most users, works very well with the platform you're looking to develop. You have an NFT in your wallet, it opens up the course, right? These gaming blockchains, or perhaps sports betting sites, for example, Ethereum can't handle the transaction load. They can't handle how fast these potential playable NFTs might need to move, right? Yeah. But EduNFTs, solving problem, works on Ethereum. I think I think that's great. You know what I mean? You can just go, open, click. You've got the course there. You're solving issues. It works on the blockchain, and again, it's the most used one. Whereas, like you say, with the gaming side of things,
I just don't get why people set up NFT projects, sell images, or give people digital ownership of images that are worth literally nothing, and then just promise a load of shit, right? We're going to build a metaverse and we're going to build a game, and these are like the most common things that people promise, and it's like, you don't have any idea. Like Meta are investing billions into building a metaverse, and you think that with the a couple 100,000 that you've raised from selling your NFTs that you're going to compete with that. You're not. But I'm not trying to stamp on anyone's dreams here, but like billions of dollars, and they've got billions of users already. So it's not. I just want to try and get people to be a bit more creative in the space. And build a project with genuine intention from the start, rather than let's sell this and then let's just say we're going to do all of this stuff. We're going to give these free airdrops that are going to be valueless in the long term, or we're going to build a metaverse, we're going to build a game, and all of this type of stuff. Like, be unique, like build something and deliver from day one. Like that's all I want to ask. Anyone building anything in the NFT space right now, just try and be unique, solve real problems, and deliver from day one.
Well, Jake, you've been amazing. Really appreciate your time. Just before you go, favorite NFT project and why? Now, I know after what you've just said, it might be difficult to answer, but this could be anything. It can be PFP, it could be project. Other than EduNFTs, favorite NFT project and why?
I'd say Opulus. So I don't know if you heard of Opulus.
Yep.
I'll explain it a little bit. So Opulus is run by a friend of mine, Lee. So Lee, again, he comes from industry. So he set up Ditto Music, which is a massive company, music distribution company. So, it's a guy that's got, he knows the industry very well. He's got a lot of connections, and he's been chipping away at Opulus for many, many years.
Okay.
And they kind of went public properly last year.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is, music NFTs, and again, a lot of people listen to this probably have heard of a music NFT before.
Yep.
But a lot of it, again, I always stand by trying to look at traditional business, and the team that Lee's managed to assemble together. I look at that team as a team that are really going to build a winning product, and have already done that in the music industry.
Yeah.
So anyone can come out and again, famous artists and things will go, oh, I'll just launch my own NFT. But these guys know not just the crypto space, but they've also proven success massively in the music industry.
Yeah.
So I love the concept of Opulus. In general terms, again, they work with an artist that launches maybe an album or a song, and then they release what they called MFTs, which stands for Music Fungible Token.
Okay.
And they might release 1,000 of them, and you own one of the MFTs. And then you obviously get royalties every time the song's played on Spotify, Apple Music, and so on. So you essentially have digital ownership over a fraction of the rights to their song.
Yeah.
There's loads of other things that they're trying to do as well, but I really envision a powerful marketplace coming together where you can buy, trade, and sell ownership in music. And I think Lee and the team at Opulus are the ones that are going to be able to do that and pull it together. So yeah, I wish them all the best. And for me, that's real utility. That's real use case in a genuine industry. And I think it's got bundles of potential.
Amazing stuff. We'll have to check them out. All right, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Jake.
No worries.